7 key rule changes for the 2022 season. Greetings, my buddies, welcome back to the channel. We're back with another fascinating Formula One Championship video, and this one is all about the regulation revisions for the 2022 season. Without further ado, let's start the video. Are you guys as eager as I am? So these are some key rule changes for the season 2022. 1. Frozen power units. The current hybrid power units have now been part of Formula One for 8 years, and in that time some incredible development has taken place. But with a new set of power unit regulations currently being finalized by the different manufacturers, for a 2026 hybrid engine that will be sustainably fueled, an agreement was reached to freeze power units from 2022 onwards as focus moves to the future. Such a restriction will limit the resources needed to chase what are increasingly small gains, keeping costs down for customers at the same time as allowing work on the next generation of power unit to begin in earnest. 2. A return to a two-part preseason test. Last year saw the shortest preseason in F1 history as largely frozen technical regulations meant teams only needed 3 days of testing ahead of the opening race, with all 3 taking place in Bahrain. With such a major change of technical regulations to deal with and brand new cars to try and get on top of, that schedule has been doubled for 2022, with a lower key first test in Barcelona from February 23 to 25, before the official preseason test in Bahrain ahead of the first race on March 10 to 12. It's still only 3 days per driver to get to grips with their new machines, however, so everyone on the grid will be hoping for smooth running, as any issues could leave them on the back foot heading to the opening round. 3. A tightening of aerodynamic testing restrictions. Another new regulation that came into effect last season was the sliding scale of aerodynamic testing, a combination of both wind tunnel time and CFD, based on where a team were sitting in the Constructors' Championship. The restrictions are worked out at 2 points during each year, taking the previous season's finishing positions, so Mercedes will have the least amount of time for the first 6 months of 2022 and Haas the most, and then the positions on June 30th. And this year, things get even more strict. 4. The lower budget cap. Level 1 of the conditions of the budget cap being introduced in Formula One was for there to be a glide path that would make it more feasible for the bigger teams to reduce their budgets to the correct level as required. So while the initial baseline figure was $145 million in 2021, that will continue to drop over the coming seasons. This year, the figure has reduced to $140 million, although there are some technicalities that mean the final figure stands at more than that. Given the impact of extra races on a team's resources, not only financially but in terms of parts required too, there is a concession that every race over 21 in a season allows an increase of $1.2 million to the cap, meaning that this season, when we're set to have 23 races, the cap will officially sit at $142.4 million. 5. A new weekend format. It's not a massive change, but in order to try and reduce the amount of time teams are away from home, the weekend format has been tweaked for non-sprint weekends to ensure practice is later on a Friday. The 2 one-hour practice sessions will remain, but they will now take place on Friday afternoon, with teams carrying out media duties in the morning. The intention is that it eliminates Thursday as a full day at the track for all of the teams and drivers, and cuts what was a 4-day race weekend featuring 3 days of track action into a 3-day race weekend, but still featuring running on all 3 days. Drum rolls. I am specifically excited for this new rule, so hear it up with all your concentration. 6. Mandatory practice outings for rookies. One of the biggest challenges for young drivers in recent years has been a lack of opportunities to drive F1 cars in order to try and prove themselves worthy of a seat, with strict limits on testing in between the race calendar. So, to increase chances for rookies, it is now mandatory for a team to give them an outing in FP1 on at least 2 occasions. That means each team must use a driver who has started no more than 2 Grand Prix, and they can either use the same driver twice, or 2 different drivers for 1 session each if they'd prefer. 7. New tire regulations. As part of the new technical regulations, the tire size has changed from 13 inches to 18 inches, but that has also gone hand in hand with new rules regarding their use. The first change is a rule that relates to the tire blankets that teams use to heat the tires when in the garage. Previously, the front tires could be heated to 100 degrees Celsius, but that drops to 70 C from 2022 onwards, while the rears were at 80 C but now also dropped to 70 C. That's it for now. Hold on your gears till I return with another engaging video related to Formula One. If there was even one change that made you excited, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Goodbye, friends. See you next time.